Hello, this is Ryan Fitzgerald making a weather briefing for the night of July 7th into July 8th. Looking at our surface charts, we have a high pressure system over the northeastern states and a low pressure system over the southwestern states into Mexico, with prevailing winds going from the east to the north as you get further west. Going into our mid-level analysis, see see basically the same story with prevailing winds going east to the north as you move west. Most overall pretty light though. Moving into our upper air winds, we're seeing the jet stream become prevalent over Oregon and Washington up into Canada, and then weakening out a little bit as it takes a turn south into the northeastern states and picking up off the coast of Maine in over the Atlantic. Moving into our convective outlook, we can see that there are convectivity over basically the entire southern half of the United States, moving up into the Great Plains, and where it increases in chance to marginal and slight as you move over North Dakota. Looking at our segments, we have a number of convective segments out across the southern half of the United States and up into the northern plains over the western part of South Dakota. Looking at our air mets, we have a number of turbulence air mets, primarily over the northeastern states where there's high level turbulence, a low level turbulence over the Carolinas and the Great Lakes and Montana, and then mountain obscuration in Washington and Carolinas and Georgia. Looking at our PIREPs, they support that story. However, there are some PIREPs of moderate and light uh, turbulence over the southwestern states all the way up into Utah. Looking at current radar, we have a number of thunderstorms starting out over northwestern South Dakota and southwestern North Dakota, and then a number of smaller cells going down into the Rockies in the southwestern states. Over Texas, we have a number of larger cells. However, they aren't quite as severe as over South Dakota. And then moving into the southwestern or the southern states, we have again some more thunderstorms. Looking at visual satellite, there's nothing much to tell. However, looking at infrared, you can see all the different thunderstorms that we were talking about on radar. Again, they're really widespread and very obvious. Vapor satellite tells roughly the same story. Moving into our local weather, METARs are showing a prevailing wind out of the south, very light, however. PIREPs, there are no recent ones over uh, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Minnesota. Looking at radar, again, our biggest thing here is over northwestern South Dakota and southwestern North Dakota. Visible satellite, again, doesn't tell much. Moving into infrared satellite, you can see just how big the storm over South Dakota is. Vapor satellite showing the same story, however, with some lower level or some stratiform clouds out over southern Minnesota. Moving into our forecast, our prog charts starting at surface now. We have a number of fronts out over the northern United States with a couple of low pressure systems. Moving into the southwestern United States, you have a high pressure system pretty much surrounded by a low pressure system, uh, creating a little bit of weather out there as well. Looking out over the northeastern states, you can see again the high pressure systems, and then a stationary front out over the southern United States and out over the Atlantic, with a tropical storm Chris out over the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of the Carolinas. Moving into our mid-level, we have some turbulence from 2,000 or 25,000 to 43,000 feet over the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Maine, with isolated and embedded thunderstorms as well further off the coast, and jet streams out over Canada and northern U.S. Going into our high level, we have thunderstorms being predicted. Or, yeah, we have thunderstorms being predicted over the northern United States and southern United States and off the coast of or off the Atlantic coast, and jet stream out over Canada and the northern U.S., northwestern U.S. Moving on to our convective outlook, again, uh, th- thunderstorms out over the southern United States and up into the northern plains where it increases to marginal and slight. Looking at our SIGMETs, same story. Air Mets as well, basically freezing level at 16,000, low and high turbulence over the northeastern U.S. into the southern states, and low turbulence over the northern states and mountain obscuration in Washington and Georgia. Moving into our local forecast, we have basically remaining condition or prevailing conditions are persisting through 1900 UTC on the 8th. Moving into ceiling and viz, there is very there is some clouds going to be out over northern Minnesota, uh, with ceilings and visibility not dropping too much. Clouds, we have pretty much clear skies going through 1900 UTCs on the 8th, and precipitation, we're looking at chance and likely thunderstorms over northern Minnesota. Thunderstorms, again, likely and chance over Minnesota. Winds starting at the surface, pretty light, uh, and mostly out of the south in our region. 3,000 feet, if it'll load fast enough. Mostly out of the south, however, making more of a shift towards out of the west, with higher winds over southern Minnesota. Going into 6,000 foot, they're beginning to pick up and move north a little bit more into middle of Minnesota and southeastern North Dakota. Continuing up, you see they're beginning to strengthen and move to more westerly. And that story continues. Then you start seeing very strong winds as you move into 30,000 feet. Moving on to turbulence, 3,000. You're seeing very relatively uh, light turbulence at 3,000, and it tends to remain going all the way up to the highest altitudes. Or it will tend to remain. Icing, as you get up to or lower altitudes, there's very little risk of icing. As you get into or start getting into the flight levels, you start seeing a heavier risk of icing. However, it is uh, mostly in the vicinity of possible thunderstorms. And that is the conclusion of my weather briefing. Thank you for listening.